Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to my spiritual experience with your host, myself, Brother Sadiq. And today we have our first guest for the show. As I mentioned when we started this show is about spirituality and bringing everyday spirituality out into the open, kind of bringing it out of the closet, some of our experiences and sharing it so that we understand and recognize that these are not so foreign to us. I think we'll find once we do this more that we have a lot of things in common and a lot of experiences that we share. And so today we bring our first guest. His name is Scott Komyanek. He is a friend of mine. He is also a creator. He has a YouTube channel, and of course, we'll let him shout that out. It's called B Town Vids, and he is also a part-time UFO hunter, and he is also an experiencer. And so today, our first guest, Mr. Scott Komyanek, we're going to be interviewing him, and so I'm glad to have him here. And thank you for being here, sir.
Heck yeah, man.
All right. So Scott, we're going to talk about all of the experiences.
Sure.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about was an experience me and Scott have had. We have a history of doing some UFO hunting together, and we've talked about some of these things, of course, off camera. And so today we're just going to talk about them on camera.
Right.
So let's today. I want you to mention. I want you to talk about some of your experiences, and I'd like to really go into the experience that you told me where you saw the really large ship here in Bloomington, Indiana.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes down to paying attention to the sky, I believe that a lot of people don't do nearly as much as what they should, and the reason that I think that is based on all of the things that I've seen,
Right.
and they're absolutely clear and responsive. Which is pretty incredible.
Responsive.
Yeah. Like for instance, uh, I'll be tracking something in the sky with my laser light, and it'll have just a normal solid light source, and then all of a sudden, it will flash a bright light and stop midair, and slightly it'll eventually like fade away. I mean, I can't explain it. I mean, was it going in another direction? Was it interdimensional? I have no idea, but that's a pretty serious occurrence that happens often.
So let me ask you: when you say you see the light, this is obviously you're doing this at night.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so when you see these lights and you assume it's a UFO or
Right.
something unexplained, right?
Right.
Now, why do you assume it's a UFO and not an airplane?
Well, I mean, there's no FAA lights on it. It's not flashing any kind of a light source, that's periodic. In addition to that, its height. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's satellite level or even further out. I can't tell for sure, but
right.
I know it's pretty high up.
Right.
And the fact that it's not showing any kind of a consistent light source, fluctuating, it's pretty clear that it's unexplained.
Right.
I mean, that's how I would define it.
And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about is me and Scott do this UFO hunting together. Many nights. This is actually how we met. In fact, this is the laser that he's talking about. We do the green lasers, and we chase down these lights that we see in the sky. And so what I wanted to talk about these lights and what he mentioned, the FAA flashing red and white or blue or green, however, whatever colors they may utilize as a flashing light source so that they're recognized as FAA regulation. The UAPs, UFOs, whatever it is that we are tracking in the skies at night, have a solid light. There is no flashing light. It's just one solid color. and it's moving across the sky. And so by that standard, we say uh, either this is an illegal vehicle flying in the skies, and if he's illegal, then we can be illegal, and so therefore we hit with the lasers. And we've tracked these things all over Bloomington, and I've actually done this also in Tennessee. So we've both experienced what he's talking about. So I just wanted to mention that because I wanted to be clear that this is something that you could probably and possibly do yourself. I've shown these lights to other people just being outside at night, and the questions, remain. What are they, right?
Right.
And so I'm sure Scott and all of you have heard about all of the UAPs and what they're calling drones,
Right.
all over the skies, not only in America, not only in one country, but it seems like we're hearing reports of these drones all over the world.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think about that? What
I
give me
mean-
just what do you think is going on?
I mean, take a look at what David Grush was talking about when he was standing before Congress, explaining the things that he's seen. These what were they called? Unidentified objects, and in addition to that, they were non-human biologicals or whatnot. And he's like, oh, we can only talk about that in a skiff.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, let's keep it more hush hush.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's very very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why I became inspired to take as much information down as I could based on what my visual accounts are.
Right.
And I can tell you about one in particular that I saw that wasn't around anybody, unfortunately, but it happened while I was living out at the Basswood Circle. I had a lower level, or a lower
Basswood Circle. That's here in Bloomington, Indiana.
Yeah.
South side of town.
Yeah, it's the southwest side of town.
Southwest side of town.
Off of 2nd Street.
Okay.
But yeah, so we had an apartment that had a deck that you could look out at, and this happened during the fall. So all the leaves were down, so you could see straight through the trees, and it was a pretty clear night. There was a big full moon happening. I think it was like a super moon even.
Okay.
It was that bright.
Do you remember how old you were, or what year this was?
Yeah, it was 2017. It was around April. I was.
So it was.
I think I was 30.
It was the spring.
I think I was like 38 at the time. Yeah, it was during the spring.
Right. Okay. You mentioned fall earlier. I'm just wanting to be clear.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah,
so before the leaves came on the trees.
Before the leaves came on the trees. Yeah, okay. I should have specified. But yeah. So what I saw was definitively an unidentified object. And I don't even like to use the word object because the thing was so big. Okay. I can't explain specifically how large it was. I mean, it must have been the size of 3 aircraft carriers, together.
Wow.
And one solid piece.
Okay.
It was a solid black. It had a little bit of gray, kind of an X shape design. It was fairly flat.
You said X shape.
Yeah, like an X. So like you're looking at a big box shape, and it's got like a couple of X shapes going throughout it that were a little bit more gray than the actual black ship itself. But the ship it moved across the skyline at a very slow pace.
So let me ask you, was the ship shaped like an X, or was the ship like a square box, and then there was an X gray part on the bottom?
Right. That's the case.
It was more of a square shape.
It was more of a square shape.
Okay.
I wasn't able to see the front of it.
Right.
I was seeing the tail end of it.
Okay.
So I don't know if it had a triangle or not. I mean, I just know it was so.
So you couldn't see the front edge, is what you're
No,
saying, right?
Yeah, you could not see the front edge. You could see, based on the tree line, how tall the thing was. It must have been, 5 stories in height, maybe,
Wow.
maybe taller.
Wow. And this was flying low or high or what?
Flying low right across the tree line. The only light source that came off the thing was the super moon. That's the only light source that came off this thing. It had no lights coming off of it from it itself.
So it wasn't like, so it was just like a dark, shadowy giant.
Yeah, just a
ship in the sky.
That's the word for it.
And it didn't have any lights around it, like
no lights around it whatsoever.
Normal UFOs people see.
No lights around it whatsoever. It was just I don't know how else to describe it.
I mean, it sounds menacing.
It was gigantic. I mean,
you see,
that's the word that comes to mind when I'm trying to describe it. And the fact that I wasn't able to, that's another thing. I wanted to run to go grab my phone.
Right.
Okay. I couldn't move. I literally was stuck where I was standing, watching this thing, just totally in awe. I mean, it really blew me away, man. I mean, I didn't know what in the world I was seeing, but I knew that we do not have anything like that. Like, not even close.
Yeah, it sounds
not even close. I mean, that what I saw was ages away from where we're at, technical wise.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah,
that sounds intimidating.
Yeah, it was, man. I mean, and the fact that I couldn't move.
So hold on. So you okay? Let's kind of explore that just a little bit. So you said you could not move. Now, do you when you say you couldn't move, like there is the sense of awe that we're stuck, right? We see something and we're stuck, or like deer in headlights, right?
Yeah.
Or are you saying
so
you felt entranced where you wanted to move but could not move?
So yeah, I'm not 100% sure on whether it was like an intransit kind of feeling, or was it just the fact that I was in so awe that I just couldn't move. But I know for a fact I couldn't move. So I'm not sure which one it was.
So in your mind, when you realized you couldn't move, what did you think?
I think the fact that I was seeing something that was so menacing and incredible that I'm not going to take my eyes off of it. I want to see what the hell it's going to do. Whether it's going to speed up, whether it's going to disappear.
So what happened? What did it do? What did it do?
It flew away. I mean, it flew away.
Did it go faster, or did it just?
No, it was same. I mean, I'd say it was moving like maybe 60 miles per hour, and that's just a rough guesstimation, man. I mean, I'm not a
something that large moving 60 miles an hour through the sky. That's pretty slow, right?
Yeah,
that got to be like intimidating, right?
That's kind of what I would think. I mean, because it's
oh my God, right?
I mean, it was as if it was like, I didn't see it scanning anything, but it was as if it might be scanning some things. I mean, this was a totally once in a lifetime thing that I wish I could share beyond my verbal accounts.
Right.
I mean, I wish I could have got this on camera.
Yeah.
Because anybody that saw it would have zero question about what it was.
I wonder, were there any other sightings, and like, did it hit the newspaper?
That's the other thing. I did a little sourcing for that and tried to see whether or not anything in the Bloomington, Ellettsville, or Spencer area or Greene County area had any kind of reports of seeing anything in the sky or whatnot, and there was zero accounts. So,
well, that's.
I didn't mention what time of the day it was. I'm thinking it was like right around 10 p.m. or so. So, I mean, it was around the time that a lot of people would probably be inside if they weren't into, uh, enjoying the fresh air or um, the sky
Sky
watching.
watching. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful moon. That was the first thing that I saw when I walked out onto the patio, and then this UFO creeped up, and that's another thing, man. It I was 100% sure that I wasn't seeing something, like like a
Hallucinating.
hallucination or
Right.
something like
Right.
that. Specifically because when it got to the moon was covered by it,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
until it went all the way past the moon,
Hmm.
and then the moon was completely bright again. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I mean,
Wow.
it was
And
it,
how?
it
Just
was
how
it was
long do you?
it
How?
was
I mean, just I don't mean to cut you off. Just how when you say that it covered the moon and went by the moon, how long do you think, in your estimation? I don't know you didn't have a watch, but just how long do you think it took
yeah. I
to
mean,
to
when
traverse the
when when
moon?
when somebody sees a solar eclipse, for instance, the time that it takes for a solar eclipse to pass, I would say like probably 5 times faster than that. So just to give you an idea, I
Hmm.
mean, you know, when you're
Wow.
looking at the solar eclipse,
Yeah,
it's like
this sounds.
slowly moving
And you said it
itself.
was just over the tops of the trees, huh?
Yeah, just over the tops of the trees. I mean, it was close to the ground,
Yeah.
close enough that somebody should have saw it besides me.
So did you like feel like vibrations
Uh,
or
well,
energy or
that's another
sound or anything?
that's another thing that I'm glad that you bring up. It had zero sound. It made no sound whatsoever. There were no vibrations or anything like that. I didn't feel any kind of a
Nothing in your body or
source of
anything.
energy coming from it or anything along those lines.
Mm.
But uh, like I said, it had no light source to it, made no noise. It was just the most incredible thing that I believe that I'll ever see in my lifetime until they come out and say, hey, we're here.
Hey, it's almost
Um,
like that's what we're
but
experiencing with all of these
but that's
so-called drones,
but
right?
that's not. Yeah, this was no drone, dude. What, 10,000 drones, maybe. I mean,
Yeah, you
that
said it
were
was
gigantic. I
the
mean,
size of maybe
yeah. I mean,
you said 3
aircraft
aircraft
carriers. Yeah,
carriers.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was like
with
holy.
no
It was
sound.
like holy shit. I mean, what is this an invasion?
Yeah,
What am I looking at here?
yeah.
And I'd seen things in the past,
Hmm.
but nothing like this. I mean, this was like I said, once in a lifetime.
Yeah,
Yeah, like once.
I I have a story I'm going to share as well about UFOs and my own personal experience. So I've talked on my show about my experience with the UFO when I was like a 5 year old, but here also in Bloomington, Indiana, in the last 3 years there was an experience that I had, and before we get into that though, I do want to know, what do you think is going on with all of the drones? What do you think is happening? What do you think this means or is trying to tell us, or what is this? What is this?
I mean, I really would have to get more into to what I'm seeing. Like it's going to be a long conversation, because I can talk about the countless things that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I've stood outside and watched something pass in the skyline, with like 30-second intervals over and over again, an object cruising across the skyline and doing that for like a course of maybe 15 minutes.
Hmm.
And
What kind of? What do you mean?
I was actually calling you up at that time frame that happened to say, hey man, get out here quick.
What is the
Because
what did the object look like?
I mean, again, no FAA depictions about it. I mean, it had the only light source it had was something that would appear to be like a star or a something along those lines. I mean, that was its only light source. It didn't have flashes to it, nothing like that.
Mm.
And I'm talking, 30-second intervals of seeing, maybe over the course of 15 minutes, maybe 30 of them. I mean,
Wow.
maybe I don't know. I mean, my timing may be off a little
Right.
bit, but give or take around 30 of them, just back to back, and they were all flying in the exact same line.
Hmm.
They weren't a little bit over here to the right, a little bit over here to the left. No, they were tracking the exact same line, and I'm thinking to myself, what the
So
hell?
they were
What?
not together like
No, no,
the
no.
satellite
They
link,
were they were
like Elon
no, no, no.
Musk's.
It was not. It was not Starlink.
Right.
I can say 100% because I've seen Starlink, and
Yeah.
this was not Starlink, man.
Starlink isn't. It
This
is a.
this was something else.
It gives a certain sense of awe
Yeah, it
to
does.
see it as well.
It does, man.
Yeah.
It's a pretty if I was in Zimbabwe or something like that, and I'm in a hut, and I step outside and I see this thing growing across the skyline,
Yeah.
and I ain't never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
It's gonna blow my freaking mind, man. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be running to my
Yeah.
elders and saying, hey,
Yeah.
come out here, man.
When I saw it,
Come out here. Look at this. Look at this.
when I saw it,
Yeah.
it was pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
intense.
it's pretty intense.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And then I'm gonna say, honestly, once I realized what I was seeing, right? This is the Starlink satellite
Right.
that I've heard about, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
almost made me feel like
Yeah.
who gives this guy the right, right?
Yeah.
Like how and so it made me
literally cover us with a blanket of satellites.
Yeah, and then you have the issue of
what are the satellites being used for?
all of that.
Yeah.
And then you have still beyond that, it's going global from my understanding. This is tracking around the entire globe.
Right.
What about all of the treaties and embargoes per country, per airspace, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how does Elon get just a pass to go around the globe with all of the countries that have conflicts with one another?
I don't know. Russia might be sending some missiles at the mothers,
you know what I mean?
And knocking some of them out. I don't know, man.
That was one of the things that I thought about.
It's a possibility for sure. Here we are. Let's say we're cruising across over North Korea or something like that. Kim Jong Un.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, hey, what the heck's
That's
this?
what I'm saying. Are these global agreements, made somehow that we're not aware of? And and I've done a little research, and from my understanding, it goes global. It traverses the globe.
Right.
And I thought that there were all types of treaties about airspace. So I don't know how that surpasses them.
It's space. I mean, I
guess you can't say I own this.
It ain't really airspace anymore when it's outer space. So how exactly would you how would you make a call on that? Who does it belong to? That's if I send a rocket up there, is it okay?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Right. And I guess it must be because I don't know if you have to have certifications.
Do I get a license for it or something?
I don't know, but I've seen like YouTube videos where guys shooting rockets up and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I don't know if they have to have like you said, certifications and things like that. But it's a good thought. It's a thought that definitely came across when I saw that that Starlink satellite.
Yeah.
Wow, look at this.
Yeah, in fact, when I saw it, I didn't know about it yet.
So nobody. You thought for sure.
Yeah, I knew it. What
you thought for sure? You on to something?
Yeah, I knew I was on to something, but I didn't know what it was. But I didn't get too excited about it. Like is it? Yeah, it definitely did not have a menacing feeling like the UFO that I saw. If I could share that with you or anybody visually, what I saw, you'd be like, oh my God.
So now that you mentioned that, let me share my story. This is what happened to me.
Sure.
About 3 years ago. So I'll give you a little setup of how I was taking care of my mom. My mom she was a diabetic and she had a amputation, and so I was the strongest one in the family physically to take care of her. So her and her, me, myself, and my ex-wife took care of my mom during this time of her amputation. And so we were actually staying at her house. And she lived on the east side of Bloomington. And there, for those of you who may be local, there is a CVS connected to a, what is that?
It's close to
The
Second
clothing
Street.
store, though. What's the clothing store connected to CVS?
Oh man, Pier One
No,
maybe.
no, 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 no. I'm talking about
Yeah, I'm not one. Goodwill.
Salvation Army or
Yeah,
Goodwill.
Goodwill.
It's
Goodwill. Yeah,
Goodwill.
yeah, yeah.
Goodwill is connected to this CVS.
Right.
And so I was working at a new restaurant, IHOP here in town, and I was coming home from IHOP, uh, and it was a pretty night. I think it was maybe September. I'm not sure, but it was a pretty night. It wasn't extremely cold. It was starting to the weather was the seasons were changing, and so it's probably 10:30, and I was walking home to my mom's house, and I pretty much there's like a bunch of shortcuts behind the buildings, and so I'm coming between the buildings and whatnot, and I look up at the sky, and I notice how wonderful the sky looks, how many stars I could see because where my mom lives, there's a parking lot, and there's usually a big lamp there, flood lamp for safety or whatnot. But it was out this night, and so I'm standing outside just admiring the sky and all the stars, and I'm probably there 15 minutes or so. Um, yeah, I because it was nice to be able to see so many stars in the sky from that vantage point because it's not normally something you can see. And so I'm looking at the stars, and as I'm looking at the stars, two of the stars begin moving. Right, two of the stars begin moving, and they're moving at the exact same rate of speed. And I have this green laser in my pocket. I had just recently purchased a bunch of these, like 10 of them. In fact, I sold this gentleman one.
Yep.
But anyway, I had one of these lasers in my pocket, and I realized I got that laser and I pulled it out, so the two lights were going from, so like I mentioned, the space where my mom lives in these apartments directly behind CVS. I think they're called Second Street apartments. And so over the stars, I'm looking at the stars. I'm standing behind the building. I'm looking at the stars, and as I'm looking up, two stars begin moving. And these stars were probably about 4 stories above the CVS store. And as they're moving, I pull out my laser and I flash my laser between the stars. And I realize because the stars, which obviously weren't stars, they were lights, began to shift in direction and come back towards me, almost like say this is the ends, these are stars, and I'm looking from the bottom perspective, and they're moving like that, and I flash my laser between here, and then it starts to angle back and turn this way, coming towards me. Well, I uh I ran like a jackrabbit running from a fox. I was terrified. I was totally terrified. And I ran in the house, and I ran around the building, and I had to unlock the door, and it felt like someone was behind me, and I was terrified and I was scared. So I get in the house, and then I'm shook up, right? I'm shook up. I'm all like, whoa, like, what was that about? Right. And I'm like going through all of these different emotions, and I started laughing, and I'm like, what am I doing? Am I going crazy? Right? Like, what's going
Right.
on? I'm going crazy. So and I'm like, no, no, no. So I'm sitting there for a minute. I'm like, man, calm down. So I started trying to like calm myself down, doing some breathing exercise, meditation type stuff. And then I realized what I was feeling, and it was fear. It was fear. I hadn't been, you're a grown man. You don't have a lot of things to make you scared enough to run. And so the fact that I felt that level of fear,
Right.
it was funny to me. I was laughing at myself because I like, whoa, what is going on? I'm like, oh yeah, that was fear. That was fear. You ain't felt fear like that. And the weird thing about that is that I always thought that if I saw a UFO, that I would be way more open and apt to be like, hey, I'm here. Let's talk. I want to be, I want to be your friend. Show me what you know.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, this UFO was not presenting itself as a UFO. It was two stars that began moving, and I thought, what is that? And so I flashed my laser, and so obviously the ship was invisible. And the two stars that I thought were stars were lights that were on the ends of, I assume, a solid one piece ship. And when it began to turn around, I could tell that it was one solid thing, and it was turning around, coming back towards my direction. And it felt to me, I felt like an eagle was swooping down to catch a rabbit, and I needed to get indoors as soon as possible. And so that was the experience that I had with a UFO in the most recent of times. That was more interactive or experiential, like what we see at night when we do our UFO hunting with our lasers. Those are way up high, right? And we just see lights, and they're moving about, and we track them, and sometimes they'll flash up.
Right.
Sometimes they'll disappear.
Right.
We've had these experiences, and so this thing was totally invisible. And by flashing my laser between the two lights, it didn't reflect off of anything. So it was, my laser went straight through it as though nothing was there. But then when it turned around, the lights moved together in unison, presenting itself as one solid ship, and it was turning towards me and coming back down in towards me direction. And so I ran in the house, and I was terrified, and kind of, I ain't gonna say I'm embarrassed, but the fact of the matter is, I thought I would be much braver if I saw a UFO. And I always thought the UFO that I would see would be like lit up and red and blue and pretty and white and whatever's on the ground somewhere, and then that's
bro. It was a learning experience for you, because now you're not going to be running away, because I know you're not, because I've been around you when we've seen things, and you're not running away.
Yeah.
So I mean, you went through it, and fortunately it's behind you. But yeah, that's I can understand.
Yeah, that's a real experience that I've had. Sure. And we, like I said, we've done this UFO hunting and tracking, and amateur researchers, and it's interesting because I think that what is relevant, right? Like the show that you're watching is called My Spiritual Experience. And so what I believe is relevant about all of this for like the human family, our species, is that if these are like aliens that look different than us, right? If these are like, Martians with, 3 eyeballs and 16 fingers or something, right? They look extremely different than the human form, right? And then we're seeing them in the skies. We're seeing them frequently now. They're becoming like almost an everyday occurrence. Yeah. And we're seeing them, like, there's shows that I watch, shows that you watch. We share videos of these things all the time, right? Yeah. And so it's becoming way more frequent. And to me, it's like a sign for us as a human species to recognize our oneness, our humanity, our human family.
Yeah, I believe
as one.
I believe it's a wake up call. I mean, you need to take in your experiences and really take a good look at them and see what it's all about. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it. When I'm looking in the sky, man, and I see something, I mean, I'm really absorbing it. Are they going to come down? Are they gonna? Well, what are they going to do? What's happening?
Yeah. What is the agenda?
Yeah, like what's the purpose?
Yeah.
But the fact that if you're tracking something in the sky with your laser light, and it decides to start flashing a light back at you, which has happened to me countless times. I mean, I can't even explain how many times. but that's an interaction.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and there's
It
no
definitely feels.
there's no getting around the fact that that's an interaction, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah. That isn't.
unexplainable or not.
Yeah.
That unexplainable thing just interacted with me.
Yeah.
It responded to the fact that I'm hitting it with the laser light
Yeah.
and following it across the skyline.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
mean,
There is a consciousness there.
that's kind
That's,
of a
yeah. That means something.
that's kind of a
Yeah.
here's your sign, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
There is a consciousness that is recognizing.
Yeah.
Me hitting them with my
Yeah.
laser. There is something there that is aware that I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And that is an exciting thing. So these lasers are very inexpensive, and we suggest you all try it. It's a fun experiment, and you get to go out and you hang out, and if it's a clear sky, man, you get to see so many things that the average person does. Like you said, most people don't look up anymore. They don't look up into the sky, and it's pretty obvious that these things are pretty frequent in our skies. Like,
the thing that I would say is, if you take anything from this, I suggest that you take the time to look up in the sky. Whether it's daylight or nighttime, it doesn't really matter. I mean, there's a chance that you might see something.
Yeah.
And the reason that I know that there's a chance that you might see something is because I've seen so many countless things.
Yeah.
And it's there's no question to what I saw. I really doubt that anybody's going to disbelieve my words. But if you do, you do. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, in society,
it is what it is.
Yeah, if you don't, it's almost like the movie "Don't Look Up." You know what I mean?
if you think I'm full of bull, then let's take a look at the guys that are standing before Congress, talking about their experiences, and we're talking military men and air pilots and people that say hey, we just saw something,
from guys with stars on their shoulders to the brass to the actual, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Guys who are going hands on with the I don't know if we'll call them beings.
I mean,
or so it's kind of exciting time, and I think I just wanted to have a good conversation with somebody who I know shares in this interest with me.
I really appreciate that you got a hold of me on this. Because it's something that I experience often, because I spend a lot of time looking in the sky and checking things out. And it's something that when shared with somebody else, it's a really a good feeling as well.
It almost, because it's a form of validation.
It's spiritual, in my opinion. But I mean, because I'm a spiritual kind of guy, so
I believe it's we're living in an extremely exciting time, but I believe there is a reason for this. Like I said, if we're supposed to merge or understand or learn or become friends with these other beings, whether they be from another planet or outside of the ice wall or from the interior of the earth or from the interdimensional, from our oceans, wherever they be from, we have to be able to relate to one another as a human species before we can venture over and to accept another species fully, I think. And so the idea of us recognizing our human family as one, I think, is the first and one of the most important things that we should take from these experiences, right? If you can accept, I'm a black guy, he's a white guy, and we can shake hands and be buddies and be intimately connected on a lot of these things that we're talking about. I think this is proof of our human experience and our ability to overcome all of the social engineering that is designed to make us say, oh, I don't like the white guy, or I don't like the black guy, or slavery.
This isn't black or white, man. This is
human.
This is human. This is two men experiencing something together, and it's pretty. The things that we've seen in the sky are pretty exciting.
Yeah, pretty intense stuff.
Yeah, pretty intense stuff.
Yeah. And I just wanted to share this interview. This is our first. I am glad Scott came on today, and this is our little setup. Here's our mic, and I'm hoping everything went well. We'll do this again in the future, and as I progress with my technicalities and the technical skills that we have here, things will get better. But thank you, Scott.
Yeah,
once again.
absolutely, my
Yes,
friend.
sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
And we will come back to you in the future. And as I said, all roads lead to spirit. So we'll see you soon.